Now, obviously, Conor has that great left-hand equalizer. He can come out and change things in the second round. But I think all signs were pointing to Dustin Poirier getting that fight finished in the second, possibly third round. What's up, Barnhill family? Welcome back to the channel.
Yo.
Guys, as you can see, we finally have updated the set. Once we crossed over 1,000 subscribers, we figured we'd increase the level of professionalism a little bit for you guys, so you'll notice the neon, and we hope you like the new set, guys. Drop us a comment and let us know what you think. So, Nick, getting right into the main event last night, the trilogy fight, Conor McGregor, Dustin Poirier. Bit of an anticlimactic ending, but a very exciting first round. No love lost between these two. The anger and the animosity is just as real and just as intense as it was back in 2014.
Yeah, to say the least. You know, Conor had admittedly not been doing that much media going into this fight, kind of focused more on himself and things that he had going on, and a little bit less about, like, you know, flying all over the world and doing media events and press obligations. And so Dustin didn't really have to do that stuff either. And sort of leading into the fight week, it didn't seem like it was going to have that big fight feel, big fight card feel. But my God, when this week came by and then everything kind of felt like a hurricane was coming. Yeah. And then when Saturday night rolled around, the big fight feel was absolutely there. It was electric in our house. We had people over. Everybody could feel it. My stomach was hurting by the time the main event started. So it definitely didn't let down as far as feeling like a major fight card for the UFC.
It had all the feelings of that big fight.
Right.
You know, when that Sinead O'Connor walkout music drops for Conor, and he walks out, and you see him in the ring, and then Dustin comes out, and he's kind of enjoying himself, getting himself pumped up and ready. You see the celebrities in the crowd as they're panning, and you feel that your throat tighten up a bit, and that intensity, your stomach, as you said, you feel those butterflies. All of that was present last night. This was absolutely a major fight. Dana White said that it was about 1.7 to 1.8 million pay-per-view buys is what we're looking at. So I think besides the Khabib fight for Conor, this is his biggest fight under the UFC banner, you know, not including the Mayweather boxing match, of course. But just the ending was very strange. You know, Dustin Poirier says that Conor broke his tibia. What we know now is Conor had surgery on his tibia. It was fractured, and he had to have it repaired in Las Vegas this morning. Dustin said it was from a checked kick, and there's actually a moment in the fight that they did a freeze frame on where Conor kicks Dustin. He turns his leg out a little bit. It almost looks like he hit the bones right around at the top of the knee, midway up the leg, basically, and Dustin kind of pointed at him and said, I think I got you there. That might have hurt you, which may give some explanation as to why Conor pulled guard and tried to wrap up that guillotine, which is very uncharacteristic of Conor. That's not something that I think any of us were expecting him to do last night. And it was a bit bewildering when it happened, but maybe it makes sense now. He felt something a little uneasy in that foot, and he wanted to take the round on the ground and see if he could allow it to heal and see if maybe the cobwebs shook off a bit. But all in all, a very strange fight, but very dominating first round for Poirier.
Yeah, it was dominating by when he got to the top. You know, I kind of tend to believe Conor McGregor, and it wasn't a checked leg kick. Because if you go back and watch the check or attempt of a check, he got the leg up, but he still ate a big shot. And the leg of Poirier definitely, you know, caved in a bit whenever he kicked him. And I think it was more just Conor hit it with the wrong angle than a well-placed defensive check. I think Conor just, you know, sent the leg a little bit hard, and his foot hit it in a little bit of an awkward place, if that's the reason. But, you know, it's one of those things when you talk about the ground game and the guillotine, jumping guard and jumping into a guillotine, it's always risky. But when you have a deep set-in choke like that, it's really hard to just give up on it or try to shuck them off, especially when you're somebody as good as Conor McGregor at striking. And in my opinion, he looked better on the feet for the short while that we saw them on the feet than Poirier did. And then the rest of the fight, aside from the last 10 seconds, was a ground and pound offensive showing for Poirier, which obviously he won. And I think everybody scored that round 10-9 for Poirier. But
or even 10-8 with some of those heavy elbows, possibly.
Yeah, see, everybody's so skewed with the scoring. Some people were saying it used to be impossible to get 10-8s, and now you really had to beat somebody bad for a 10-8, and now it seems like they're giving them out left and right, and I don't really know where to lie as far as that goes. I tend to think last night was more of a 10-9 round. Poirier definitely looked good with the ground and pound. He realized he was having success, so he didn't try to move out or anything like that. And, it was just an unfortunate way for the fight to end because love him or hate him, Conor McGregor is in entertaining fights every single time he steps in the octagon, and you can definitely say the same about Dustin Poirier.
Yeah, Dustin's star is certainly shining right now, and he looked brilliant once he got out of that guillotine. He was able to turn the angle. One of the things that we talk about with guillotine defense is you want to push your head all the way through, almost like a leg lock. You don't want them to be able to get to your Achilles, so a lot of times you'll push your leg all the way through and then begin to work your escapes from there. So Dustin kind of pushed that head deep, used the fence a little bit to kind of jump to the opposite side to take the pressure off, and that was when we saw McGregor's elbow come out of position, and the choke really wasn't a threat at that point, and that's where Dustin really found success with those heavy elbows. We saw the ear of Conor McGregor bleeding last night. I don't know if there was any eardrum damage or anything. I didn't hear anything about that, but we saw some very heavy elbows, some very heavy ground and pound. And while it was a weird ending, it is worth noting Herb Dean stepped in very close in the last 20 seconds of that round while it was on the ground. He was considering stopping that. Had there been another barrage of 3, 4, 5 elbows that went unanswered, I think that fight would have been stopped. So, and it's so unfortunate because we know when Conor takes a lot of damage, when he's getting beat up, when things aren't going his way, that's where he starts to unravel a bit. And when a dogfight is going on and the fight's progressing, that's where Dustin shines. So, and I have no way of telling for sure, but in my personal opinion, that fight was heading in Dustin's favor in a big way. Now, obviously, Conor has that great left-hand equalizer. He can come out and change things in the second round, but I think all signs were pointing to Dustin Poirier getting that fight finished in the second, possibly third round.
Yeah, probably. If the fight would have gone the same way, rinse and repeat all 5 rounds or as many rounds into the 5 that we got, it definitely would have gone in Poirier's way and he probably would have finished. But if we would have been able, if Conor McGregor didn't break his own leg throwing that punch at the end of the first round and we got to see a second round or got to see him go to the stool, we would have seen John Kavanagh, Ireland's first black belt, tell Conor, don't go to the ground again. Don't try to jump guard. Don't try to grab a guillotine and take him out. You need to stand and strike with him because he doesn't want to stand and strike with you. And I think we would have seen a very different second round, a round that looked a lot more like the beginning of the first round. And it would have been more fireworks because both of those guys were throwing. Dustin's willing to get into a firefight, but he doesn't have the skills as far as striking goes as Conor does. So it could have really played poorly for him, but it ended up working out for him. He got the win. It's not how he wanted to win, but a win's a win, and now it's all but official that he's fighting Charles Oliveira for the title.
Yeah, and it's so funny. Conor's got the luck of the Irish. If Dustin can actually pull off the win against Charles Oliveira, there's bad blood there. Conor has now brought Dustin's wife into the mix, which honestly is a miss for me. I think, Laura, I love the trash talk. I'm a mark when it comes to that, but I do believe that, people's families and things like that should stay out of it unless it's like a Chris Weidman's father sort of situation where he involves himself. But in this case, I think Jolie Poirier largely should have been left out of the equation. But that's to be settled, as Dustin said, either on the street or in the cage. But this fight will happen again. So who knows if Dustin wins, and he did say he'd like to see Conor come back and at least win a fight before they give him a title fight. But as you know, Dustin doesn't make the matches. The UFC matchmakers make the matches, and I certainly don't think he would turn down another fight with Conor McGregor. But this is just it's so funny because we thought we'd see some closure and some ending, and what we saw is the rivalry is as hot and needing a fight as it ever has been.
Yeah, that's for sure. And anybody that doesn't want to see them go back at it is just a bit of a Conor hater because while he didn't look graceful in defeat like he generally does when he loses. He for sure sold a next fight. He for sure lined Dustin's pockets for the next few fights that Dustin's going to be in, for sure. And I think that Conor McGregor needs, a shot at Dustin Poirier for number 4 because we didn't really get to see the third fight that we wanted. Obviously, Dustin wanted to get the finish. He got the win, but he's not 100% satisfied with that. Conor's definitely not satisfied with the loss. And if you can pull that same energy in a UFC event and pull that many people again, that kind of live audience, the famous people, everybody, the big fight feel once again. And hey, Dustin Poirier is a good guy. Everybody likes him. So put a belt around his waist and then he gets a nice big chunk of the pay-per-view numbers. Then I think it makes business sense and it makes fight sense for them to just do it again. And nobody wants to miss a Conor McGregor Poirier fight, no matter how many times they fight.
That's for sure. And I've seen a lot of stuff on social media today, a lot of people saying that fight should have been a no contest. And I want to clear up why that wasn't a no contest. So what would constitute a no contest is if there was an illegal strike of some form. There was an eye poke that was incidental, or a headbutt that caused too much bleeding for a fighter to continue, or a groin shot that stopped the fight and the referee had to stop it. Some sort of illegal mechanic that was accidental that caused the fight to end. But when the fight ends due to an injury suffered by one of the fighters that happened within the framework and the rule set, which a leg kick certainly is, and they can no longer continue, there is really no grounds for a no contest. It truly is a doctor stoppage. You did something which caused something to happen which didn't allow you to finish the fight, and it happened within the framework of the unified rules, so therefore it is not a no contest by definition. It is a TKO doctor stoppage.
Yeah, but, and that could be the case. No, we don't really know the truth. Dustin thinks that the leg check was what caused it. Conor is already saying that's absolutely not what happened. I twisted my own foot and it just so happened to break. We don't know the truth. The only two people, or the only person really that knows the truth, is Conor McGregor.
Right.
And if it is the fact that it was a leg check, then he's certainly not going to say that. And if he's being honest and it was actually him twisting his foot, then I could see where a combatant wouldn't want to have a loss for something that the other opponent had nothing to do with. But, at the end of the day, the rules are the rules, and the way the fight played out was it was just fine and fair for everybody.
Yeah, and it would have had, for the no contest, it would have, even if it was just a pure ankle roll or a pure break of some kind, just a freak accident, it would have had to have been caused by something illegal that wasn't within the rule set. As far as I understand it, and you guys, if there's some experts on the unified rules out there, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think that Dustin would have had to have done something that was accidental and illegal for it to have been a no contest. If Conor steps out there, throws a jab and tears his meniscus, that's still technically a TKO win for Poirier.
That's bizarre.
It's bizarre, but I believe that is how it's written right now. So this will not be, in my opinion, turned over into a no contest. I believe that the history books will reflect a TKO doctor stoppage from here forward for Dustin Poirier, but none of that really matters. I think we all want to see fight 4 here. There's obviously bad blood. I do believe that Conor should come back and win at least one fight. At this point, he's 1-3 at 155. If Dustin does happen to grab that belt, I find it very hard to justify with the people like Islam Makhachev coming up, Justin Gaethje, who knows what's going to happen with Michael Chandler, but there's a lot of people at 155 that are doing good things and moving their way up. And I'd like to see if Conor's going to get a crack at Dustin and if the undisputed belt is going to be on the line, that he get at least one win at 55 before that happens. But who knows what the matchmakers will do.
Yeah. And I would say that it's not mandatory that happens. Obviously, Conor's going to be out for the next year. We're not getting a Conor fight for a year. That's simple. When you have a leg bone break, it's brutal. And, you know, look at Chris Weidman. Like, he's basically suffered the same thing.
Yeah.
And we have no plans on seeing Chris Weidman in there anytime soon. You got to learn how to walk again. Then you got to go through a whole plethora of physical therapy, and then you got to start training, and then you got to get into a fight camp. And at that level, you need 3 months to do each one of those things. Yeah. So we're looking at least this time next year when Conor makes the return to the octagon. So by then, I feel 3 or 4 155ers, maybe more, will have a crack at a title fight. And, you know,
if Islam's sitting atop the heap, I think Conor will go for that Dustin fight before he'll go to try to make a run for the belt.
Yeah. If that's the case, or I think he might go for a Diaz trilogy fight. You know, kind of close that up. Look, Masvidal, Diaz, and Conor McGregor are all on losing skids. They're not winning fights. All 3 of them are still pulling bigger numbers than everybody in the UFC, no matter how big the win record or what the win streak is going. So they're at a unique place where the results don't matter as much as the fight themselves. And, you know, anybody's going to want to fight Conor McGregor, especially now they think they found some weaknesses in him. They want to try to get a win over the biggest star in the sport. And that's why I feel like Conor McGregor is always, from here on out, 1 fight away from a title fight.
I think you're right. Well, guys, let us know in the comments, what did you think about the performance last night? Obviously, Dustin Poirier getting in the win, not in the way that he wanted to. But do you think the chapter's closed here, or do you think there's room for a 4th fight, and would you like to see it? Guys, thanks so much for watching this video. If you're new here, we also post on audio, so check us out where you listen to podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, you name it, we're there. And thank you so much for watching this video. We will catch you in the next one. Have a wonderful day.
Peace.